Hello, this is Braydyn Lents, and this is my honors capstone project presentation. Just in case we, for some reason, have the opportunity to speak at the education club or not, this is a recording that I have made on November 22nd of 2021, right before Thanksgiving break. And just in case time is becoming consumed or anything such as that, this is my honors capstone presentation. Again, I need to thank Mr. Matthew Norman, my professor for 2 years. I need to thank you enough because the opportunity that you gave me to be an honors student is really honorable, because coming where I came from, there's no way I would have been in this position. But today, my presentation is called Y equals MX plus B. And many of you were wondering what this presentation's supposed to be about or what the discussion was supposed to be about. We were just supposed to talk about what the P's were supposed to look like in how we could form them well in education. So in order to rethink America's problematic education systematic equation, we need to discuss solutions and coincide with these 8Ps and see what we can do from there. But yeah, this is my presentation, and I hope you all enjoy. As the United States of America is home to over 300 million people, we are known for a lot of things, such as McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Chick-fil-A, Applebee's. We happen to we're the only country in the world that happens to wear our Greek letters on our shirts if you're in a fraternity or sorority. We do debate a lot differently compared to Britain and other countries, as we also have crooked politics, just like every other country. The United States ranks 25th in math, 27th in science. It is far behind in testing circuits and compared to the rest of the world. We should be having dominant education in our country, but sadly, enough has not been enough, and the government has not been able to help students effectively and teachers effectively, which I'll get into that a little more later. This problem inside our classrooms dictates more than just on students and teachers. This is a problem. In order to rethink education, we need to have some affirmative action, which is the first plot. We need to coincide with teachers, and teachers need to address society, and society then needs to talk to politicians about solutions, and then politicians need to go into school districts and departments of education and start rethinking the problematic systematic equation by making sure that our voices are heard first, then getting policy and putting it in place. This problem also affects not just students, but also parents. How can we trust our kids in one school, but another school is this way and another school is this way? Having the dictation for our children and deciding what school they're going to go to is one thing, but finding a good education to keep them on the right road is another. Now in my life, I have lived on Section 8 for 20 years and still am to this day. I was born a Trailblazer boy on Vincent on August 9th of 2001. I was an honorable baby to a 19-year-old mother whose my father is incarcerated and still is incarcerated, but my mother was able to graduate from Vincennes University in 2003 with a major in general studies. She was supposed to major in biochemistry. The odds stacked against me were very high, partially because one, I was Black and mixed. Two, I had a mother that started living on Section 8 housing and government programs in 2004. Three, we had a family that was not even close to helpful for my mother. And four, I didn't even know what job opportunities were going to bring to me as soon as I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3. The opportunities that were surrounding me were endless because I had two really supportive grandparents and they really were trying to get me on the right track. But the people who got me to where I am today are four different people: the staff at Bloomington High School South, the staff at Companion Academy, the staff at University of Elementary School, and my own self perseverance. As a baby, I was born to be a journalist. I was born to love and care for reading, writing, and getting the truth out of any problem necessary. But growing up, however, surviving suicide at the age of 15, having depression at the age of 14, started having anxiety at the age of 13, and then dealing with a grandmother with Alzheimer's and 3 really excruciating years of high school were really challenging on me. But I'm proud of the places that I served. As you can see here with Tri North Middle School on the right, that is their old location, and the new school and the University Elementary School, which was my home for over 6 years after moving from Vincennes in 2008 to Bloomington in 2008. And yes, as I mentioned, there are two really prolific places that helped me. Companion not only nurtured me as a student, they made me succeed. I had 7 people all walk around one classroom and help out others for their math work. They not only persevered through that triumph, but they also were helping us, getting us on the right path, getting us to the place where we need to be today, and getting us to the place where, yes, we can be successful students. At Bloomington South, as I'll mention throughout the presentation, there were 2 people that really were prolific. And the one woman was Mrs. Barb Stork, who was my special education counselor. She was not only the light at the end of the tunnel, she was a light at the end of the tunnel for me in a challenging period when my grades were slipping. Because my freshman year of high school, I got a 4.0 for 3 credits that I took. By the time I was a senior, I got a 2.8 GPA, and I was not even ranked in my class in the top 100. But I was able to find out that I could possibly go to college as long as I take the avenue, the VU. But Barb Stork really helped me with that. And then, as the classrooms at Campania were tiny, we had 7 kids in all classes, very small classes, but all the teachers were able to help us. Really opened my eyes to education, because this is how education should be. And you have a lot of kids that are struggling from poor backgrounds or even rich backgrounds that don't even care about school, but they made us love school. They made us do it. Everyone loved us, and the coursework was intermediate at best, but that was because of Campania serving foster children. But the other person that helped me out at Bloomington South, and there's myself, and then the other person that helped me out was a kid named Noah Jager. Jager was a high school basketball player who was not ranked in the top 100, but he was such an intricate part of my high school experience. I had met Jager at a concession stand, and I had never looked back ever since. He is now playing basketball at Army at West Point, and he's one of the most honorable, dedicated students that have ever walked in the Bloomington High School South in Indiana. But at his graduation speech, which was virtual due to COVID-19 in 2020, Noah Jager said his 4 Ps: Panthers, perseverance, passion, and purpose. He was not only one of the most honorable students at our school, he was a part of what Campania stood for: perseverance, passion, purpose. Not Panthers, but those 3 Ps. And he was a big part of to my educational game, as it has advanced me overall as a student and as a person. But I've lived by this mantra every day. And then a light bulb was going in my head. I was just saying to myself one day, what if school doesn't have to make me a failure? What if school can be reliable? What if school can be informational? And how can school be something in the world so we can better test scores? And not only that, but not just hand out diplomas, hand out a diploma to someone who has earned the right to have a diploma not because you just get a diploma for finishing 6 years or 4 years of school. But then the idea hit. I came up with 8 P's, and those P's I will be listing to you right now. Patience is the first one. We all need patience in our schools. When I was in a math class at Bloomington South, it didn't matter what had happened or why it had happened, but I was not good at math. If I had just had somebody starting in 3rd grade getting me on the right track and providing funding for lower income students or for students who just struggle in a certain area, because school's not everybody's critique. Well, if we could provide funding in the public schooling areas like math and English, where kids are most likely to struggle, we wouldn't have the problem of dealing with children who are not able to succeed. We not only need this teacher that you see in the front, we need a group of students. We need a group of teachers to start bringing in patience in our schools and patience to providing us students the opportunity to learn and to grow, because you can't just stay in the same math score forever. A math score is the dedication to a livelihood. But at the same time, math can also not be important depending on what a major you're going to be in college. So having the patience to help a student who gets easily overwhelmed, like my sister at Jackson Creek Middle School, having that patience to say, Brianna, you can do this. How about I help you? But the state and the government do not give students that access because they want you to just breeze through 12 years of school, have all of the less important, have this much in your repertoire when really you need this much in order to succeed in a job. Because college really teaches you, like broadcasting, there's no way you can find broadcasting in any high school unless people start having a movement or start change. There's a lot of media programs out there, but they don't teach you what they teach you in college. So patience is my first P, because in conclusion, patience is what makes a student successful. It is what the student is able to do, and not about what the student is not able to do to make them succeed. If we can have helpful teachers and helpful staff. Practice. Now, starting in the Greek and Roman times, they did not want us to read. Just even having a book in our hands was illegal. Right before the very first text was written in January of 1665, in which the first ever textbook in United States history or in the world was written. But listen, the Romans and the Greeks did not want us to read or write or learn how to read and write. It was strict and by Catholic order. But now we have entered a new generation of learning, according to many experts, which say we could influence children by just giving them a practical tool to continue learning and being successful. But now we are entering a point in education where we are not seeing growth in our children, and we are seeing more and more students get into college, not know anything about finances, and they in mountains and mountains and mountains of student loan debt. It doesn't start with the school like VU that's on the bottom, but then once you rise to the top and you get to a school such as Stanford, Harvard, or Yale, they're trying to renovate this process, which in fact, the practice piece doesn't have to include student loan debt. This includes having proper finances. And this also includes being able to learn not only about money management, but these colleges are changing the perception and practicing a new idea, saying, we don't need to treat students like a number, because if you're treated like a number, you're not going to succeed well in college. But thanks to Yale and Harvard, they have changed the admissions game. And even more importantly, this is just the beginning from a time where we would allow Felicity Huffman's children to just get into USC and not have any thought about it, because that was one of the most illegal things that had ever happened in the college admissions game, and that shook everything up. Now, Indiana University, thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic, and thanks to a lot of schools for the COVID pandemic, No ACT or SAT score is required for the class of 2026, which is one way and one tool of why college admissions are starting to change the game much, much earlier. And they're practicing kind of what they preach, as I wrote in my essay. Schools are about practicing what you preach, not about how you preach it. Because in school, you need practice in order to succeed. And then you need to also find options in online learning, as a lot of countries such as Germany are using online learning as their primary tool. Also, many school districts are addressing students with problems. We need to evaporate the school board and just bring in students who have rightful minds, who are insightful, and not have 60-year-old men dictate what schools should practice. This is a common way, a good way to start practicing what we preach and how we preach it. Because most importantly, students are the backbone of this country. We are the providers of the economy. We are going to shake the game up. As all of my teachers have said, you be you and you know how to be you, but it always starts with innovative practices and precision. Purpose is the third P. Black Rock High School is a high school located in the Margarove Valley Desert, which is in the state of California. It has been for many years a school that has helped intermediate children who are either really, really poor or who have behavioral issues inside the school. The principal of the school, who was mentioned on the documentary, The Bad Kids, which is really insightful, said that she has a no policy, no tardy policy, no absence policy. You get to school and you get to school. You succeed when you want to succeed, and you go to work when you want to go to work. Her philosophy has not only changed many students' lives, it has brought them to not become homeless. It has allowed these kids to be something in the world and not feel like a number. This is a very insightful tool because it brings me back to Campania, where we had a lot of kids with behavioral issues, psychological issues, who were from foster homes and caregiving places. And they were able to succeed because nobody treated them like a number. Especially, you don't need to live on the streets in order to not have a successful future, according to the principal of Black Rock High School. She said that there are a lot of kids that are poor that go out and do some very, very insightful things, but they can't find the job to do it. Persistence is the next P. Now, persistence is pretty simple, keeping a steady flow and keeping it level. With education, not only that we need to practice what we preach, be patient, and have perseverance, but we also need to keep this flow going, just like fish in the ocean. Keep it smooth and steady so students can succeed and not feel like they're trapped trying to study for the ACT or SAT exam, because I'll tell you, it doesn't matter for when you are an adult and trying to get a job in order to get on that level. In conclusion, persistence is all about keeping a steady flow in education, keeping our kids practiced, keeping teachers patient, and having a purpose to be in school and to not feel like a number, as I've said in this speech. We not only need prolific teachers and prolific students, but we also need a steady flow of well-behaved kids who can walk into school and who could try to succeed, which can be hard to do. Pride. At the high school, Strawberry Mansion High School in North Philadelphia, Principal Linda Wayman is a big example of how schools should be. One of the most violent schools in all of America. She changed that school from head to toe, from 90 security cameras in every hallway to the school to being very successful by allowing students to go to school and being there for them as extra support. Not only did the ABC documentary on Strawberry Mansion High School become so prolific, but it exceeded all expectations by how a school should be, thanks to one night and one special about one of the most violent schools in America. Because not only was money coming in now, Drake was helping out. You had hip hop stars coming in and being impactful for kids that are so underdeserved in the northern Philadelphia area, one of the most violent areas in all of Philadelphia. Not only is this a great example for students and staff and parents and everybody in education, this is how schools should be. Changing one part of all Black schools and having funding, as we're seeing right now with Howard University, having poor maintenance on buildings, having poor cafeteria food, treating people of color with disrespect is wrong, and treating others with respect should be the necessary thing to do. It doesn't matter if you're Black or white, there's going to be problems everywhere. There's going to be maintenance issues everywhere. But the thing is that if we do not have a purpose, if we don't have pride in education, just like at Strawberry Mansion, the schools would literally fall apart. So I question, why are there a lot of schools that are like this? It is not because of race. It's because of arrogance that has led us to not having pride in school. You're seeing this every day at Dairy Queen as people are throwing towels around. The staff members are acting horrible and they don't like their jobs. Barely anybody likes their jobs anymore. But it's about instilling a pride by having something and meaning something. What can education mean? And how can it be filled with pride? Principled. In the school, Eastside High School in Paterson, New Jersey, there was a principal by the name of the late Joe Clark who had instilled a vision once he walked into the school that was mainly violent and filled with offenders. He said that he's going to do one thing, lean on me, and he had two things to carry. He had a megaphone and he had a Louisville Slugger. He instilled discipline. He instilled a military type of mentality inside that entire school. And years later, the school would become an academic success in New Jersey, leading to the film Lead on Me, which Joe Clark was played by Morgan Freeman in the movie. But schools like this are prolific too. It is also the school districts, as you can see with Michelle Rhee, who in 2009 took over the Washington, D.C. school district and wanted to change it from head to toe. She wanted to make sure that teachers who are not teaching well are not getting tenure. But the biggest thing she did was reduce the amount of SAT and ACT scores taken at the schools to reduce more anxiety. But in order to succeed, she made students go to work. Unfortunately, her job was more stressful than good, because once she started making change, the government set her back. And once the government set her back, she wasn't able to succeed anymore. And so she took the position to become an advocate, running a nonprofit organization for students that need to succeed and who want to succeed. Needing to succeed and wanting to succeed and having a principled mindset can not only reduce crimes in school, but it can also reduce simple things like school shootings. We give kids more therapy if they're having struggles or thinking about shooting the school. We give more money than opportunities for tutors and successors to succeed and continue to have no SAT and ACT scores, but make it a student's choice to take those. Being principled means taking a principled value and changing it over its head. You need to make sure that in schools and otherwise that we start principling our children, making them more disciplined and providing the funding that if your child was acting up and throwing chairs in the classroom, we give them an opportunity to have a tutor or an advisor, anybody that can help out that kid and make them a better person. Prolific. In Long Beach, California, in the early 1990s, a race was going on. And it was more than just blacks, whites, were Hispanics being targeted. It was the entire community of Long Beach, California. And walking into Aaron Gruwell's school was more than just prolific, but it was also challenging. There was a girl in there that had an ankle bracelet and two officers by the door. And these kids, Gruwell was told, were some of the hardest behaved kids in all of Long Beach, California, and they were never going to succeed. But by just having a little piece of tape drawn down the middle of the line and having kids stand, learn about Anne Frank, and having all colors, all races continue to be successful, we didn't have a Holocaust happen in Long Beach, California, but we had a lot of successful students come out of that school, especially after the year 1999. Aaron Gruwell saved 9 students, and they were all succeeding and all have jobs. They never thought that she was going to be so prolific in their life. And then there's also this argument that prolific students can also not be just in a classroom, they could be in a prison cell. Not only that, but we have so many prolific teachers that are bringing in prolific students, just like in Aaron Gruwell's case. But some of these people are in jail and made very wrong decisions. But hey, being prolific means that you just defeated the Harvard debate team in 2015. If 3 prisoners can defeat a top Ivy League institution in a debate tournament, what does that have to say with prolific teachers and prolific students? Because everybody can have an opportunity to have education. Not every country has education. We are so fortunate with what we have. It's just taking minor changes and switching them up. Because if we don't have teachers that are going to succeed and make a prolific impact on these kids, as one prisoner by the name of John L. said, we need to turn prisons into schools. And there was one teacher in particular that told him that. And that teacher taught nature, and he loved plants, but he was also incarcerated. So he changed his life because of that one teacher and her mission. In conclusion, prolific teachers lead to prolific students, and principled teachers and principled students make for a better school. My final P, which is the 8th P, is placid. Today, as I just mentioned, more people are going to jail at skyrocketing rates. We have never seen an incarceration rate this big in US history since the early 1990s. But there's also this alarming trend. There are prison to school and school to prison pipelines, which allow the opportunity that if you hit Susie in the face, you're going to go to jail. If you skip class, you're going to go to jail. Even if you drop a pencil on the floor, you're going to go to jail. There's a lot of schools in the United States that need to absolutely change those methods and not have jail as a priority, but have other institutions like mental health units. We should reopen state hospitals, as I discussed with other people or throughout the time I've done research. They need to reopen state hospitals and local hospitals for students that are having mental health crises, because a case like Nicholas Cruz walking into school is a school to prison pipeline because the school started to mess him up and not be supportive to him. And then the worst shooting in US history happened. Not only is this prison a pipeline population so impactful, it's more impactful on people like me, the Black and brown population of the United States, because we are being hurt the most as incarceration rates have skyrocketed in both Black and brown people in the United States. But look at this model. What if we could treat education? What if we could treat schools like prisons? What if we can redo prisons before schools? Look to your left. This is a prison of possibly suicide patients inside a jail cell in the United States. To the right, this is what jail looks like in Finland, one of the top performing countries in education and in social economics. The United States, 25th in math, 27th in education. So what does this model do to you? What does this model do to the United States? What can we change here? I mean, look at this. I'm going to give you a minute to look at this. This is prolific. This is also challenging and stressful. We shouldn't treat education like this, because if Finland's outperforming us, what does that have to say for ourselves? Also, there were two incidents that happened at IU that also impact being placid in terms of education. To your right, this is Eric Rusman, who's a professor at the O'Neill School of Public Policy at Indiana University. And to your left is the former IU basketball coach, Bob Knight. And the thing about Eric Rasmussen, he texted on Twitter and other social media sites racist, fascist, homophobic, and sexual content that really negatively affected women of academia. To your left, Bob Knight, he got fired from his position because he was physically and verbally abusive to his players at his time at IU and at Texas Tech, but he retired at Texas Tech. Eric Rasmussen was not fired from his job for making impactful statements about women's looks, women's likings, and women and academia for women and blacks and whites and Hispanics. He's ridiculed everyone in the book. If you look at this photo, what are we doing by allowing a man to the right who has said racist things to not get fired, but the man on the left gets fired for something so simple as being physically and verbally abusive? I need you to take a look at this for a second and ask yourself, is this right? Just like last time, is this right? That's your call. But education needs to change just like this. And then you could even debate about what color the school bus is. Every morning, should we change it to orange? Should we change it to black or white or Asian? But or not Asian, I meant black or white or blue. What could we do? I mean, look at this school bus. I mean, what can we do? What are some of the things we can do? If we can just be a little bit more protective of what other colors should be, why should we care about colors? Because these two things matter. Changes can happen. We can be mad at the education system. We can be hard on education, but this is a time to fight. Teachers are getting paid less than $15 an hour. Fight. If there are teachers that are saying racist comments at universities and not getting fired, fight. This is a right of the First Amendment that we are not seeing. Students are becoming more vocal too, some in positive ways and some in negative ways, mostly negative, but always positive. We fight for education like we fight for our rights. These 8 Ps hopefully open your eyes up to seeing how education is in our country. And with education like this, I don't know if we are going to succeed or not, but I don't know how the education is going to be in the next 20 years. That call is up to us because we are the changers. We are the motivators of this country. And we are the motivators of education. Because if we want impactful students at impactful schools, we need to be prolific, principled, have pride, and be respectful to everyone who walks into our door. I want to thank you all again. Thank you for Professor Norman. I need to thank you enough. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a good day.